Hi, we're in Acts chapter 23 today, verse 23. And he called for two centurions. This is the Roman commander who is keeping Paul right now, saying, "Prepare 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen to go to Caesarea at the third hour of the night, and provide mounts for Paul to set Paul on, and bring him safely to Felix the governor." And he wrote a letter to the governor in the following manner: Claudius Lysias, to the most excellent governor Felix, greetings. This man was seized by the Jews and was about to be killed by them. Coming with troops, I rescued him, having learned that he was a Roman. And when I wanted to know the reason they accused him, I brought him before their council, and found that he was accused concerning questions of their law, but had nothing charged against him deserving of death or chains. And was told to me that the Jews lay in wait for the man. I sent him immediately to you, and commanded his accusers to state before you the charges against him. Farewell. Then the soldiers, as they were commanded, took Paul and brought him by night to Anapartus. The next day they left the horsemen to go on with them, and returned to the barracks. When they came to Caesarea and had delivered the letter to the governor, they also presented Paul to him. And when the governor had read it, he asked what province he was from. And when he understood that he was from Cilicia, he said, "I will hear you when your accusers have come." And he commanded to be kept at Herod's praetorium. So here's the thing. Paul is, the Jews are lying late, so the governor learns about him and says, "Hey, you know what? The centurion hears about this and says, I'm going to get Paul out of the way." And when this thing starts out, he sends 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen for this one guy. This one guy, he's not even some superstar. He's not some senator or important politician or even a general of the army. He's just a guy who came to Jerusalem, who the Jews didn't like because he used to be a Pharisee, and then he's a Christian, and he's telling people how to get to heaven and not going their way and not doing it the way they want it done. And so he says, "I'm going to get him out of harm's way," but he sends what, 470 soldiers, 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, 200 spearmen to guard this one insignificant person. What's the neat thing about that? You read in that, you go, this centurion, when he heard about Paul, he heard about all that's going on and how things happen. Bet you him and Paul had some interesting conversations. Maybe the centurion comes to know Jesus. I don't know. I can hope for that, can't I? Because we don't know the whole story. The Bible doesn't tell everything, because it would be so huge if every moment everybody's life was chronicled. But we do know that centurion had taken a liking to Paul. I mean, see, listen to what Paul had to say. And he said, "I'm going to make sure he gets to the governor, right? I'm going to make sure he gets to the next level to have his day in the sun or day in court, whatever you want to call it." But the overkill, 470 soldiers for one little old prisoner. Now, remember we talked yesterday how God said to Paul in a dream, "Don't be afraid, be of good cheer. I'm going to get you to Rome." Paul's being transported in the safety of 470 soldiers when 40 men were lying in wait to kill him. I mean, seems a little bit overkill for the protection detail, right? And by the way, that's expensive, right? To have those soldiers to do that, go all that way and do all that. What an amazing thing. God, he's pretty special in how he takes care of us. I think it's a good idea of also think about when you go through this world and you're like, man, everybody seems against us. Remember, the angels of the Lord are on your side. Just like Paul here, he had 470 guarding him against 40. God, his angels are so much better guarding you than anything else the devil can send against you or any human can send against you. What a great thing. And then you look at the letter. The letter was a big, hey, see what I did, Governor? See how good I did? It starts out by saying what? This man was seized by Jews, and I came with my troops, and I rescued him. If you've been following this story, he didn't come to rescue him. He wanted to stop this uproar and find out what was going on. It was not, and he says, "I rescued him, and I found out he was a Roman." He doesn't find out he's a Roman until later on in the story. So he's trying to say, "Hey, look what I did." But then he says, "What?" So I found out that what was accused of him wasn't deserving of death, let alone even being in chains. What he's saying, he's heard the guy's story. He says, "I don't see anything wrong with the guy." And he's also kind of saying, "Hey, maybe Felix, you might want to hear what he has to say." He's kind of buttering up Felix for his own game, but also say, "Hey, I want to hear this guy." He's kind of greasing the wheels. That's how God does to get things ready for the next thing, the next stage in our ministry. He does those things for us. What an amazing thing that is! And he got there, delivered safe and sound, and much to the chagrin of those who wanted to kill Paul. And then we see what happens in the story next. So come back tomorrow. We'll pick up the story starting in Acts chapter 24. Remember, have a great day. Remember, Jesus loves you. I love you. And you're absolutely awesome.